Okay, so on today's video, the Civic here has had a bunch of damaged slash mismatched interior trim pieces. And on today's video, I'm gonna hopefully try to make those a little bit more uniform by either painting them or flocking them. And why does that word sound weird? Welcome to Project GoodSpeed. I'm Jay, and this is the little hatchback where I just do daily maintenance on this thing. Now, I actually removed some of these last night to hopefully try to repair some of them because the wear and tear on some of these has gotten a little out of hand. The armrest here has this crack right there. This is a JDM center console and it's also breaking on the corner share. This part is the only part that's plastic and this is metal. So it's a little fragile in certain areas. And believe it or not, pieces like this here are worth $200 to $300 and I'm not paying that kind of money for trim, especially for a Honda. Now I managed to repair some of these with JB Weld and Crazy Glue on some of them both, and they're not perfect, but they will do. I also managed to clean them up pretty well and they should be ready now for the painting process. Now with all this trim here, there was two options that I wanted to try out that I thought would work really well. And one of them was using SEM paint, which is kind of like OEM matte finished paint. And the other one is a flocking kit, which basically is like a Suede-Tex material that just glues and sticks onto the surface. Now, the SEM paint that I bought on Amazon, because apparently no one else has it in stock, I'll put the link down below if you guys want to check it out. But basically, it's just an OEM colored paint that's like a matte finish. Now, it works pretty well. I've actually used it on the exterior trim pieces of my window molding here, and so far they have not faded and they look pretty decent. The flocking kit is also in the link down below, but I've never used that before. I have no idea how it'll look, and there's a few questions I have with both of these products that I will address later on. I'm basically using both of these options to try to repair and restore the look on these things, and they should work pretty well. And I've also heard of people using heat on some of these to get rid of some of these deep scratches, something kind of like this. However, some of these scratches right here, you guys can see, they're pretty deep, and I don't think a blowtorch will do too much, especially the trunk area trim that I will be painting. Some of that has really scuffed up marks because, you know, obviously it's a cargo space and stuff slides in and out and just causes a little bit more damage. Now, with that being said, I will also be using the heating method just to try to get rid of some of these scuffs to make the painting process a little easier. I don't want any of these raised surfaces, and I'd rather paint on a smooth surface. However, some of them with the flocking, it will also be covered up, so it might not matter all that much. I'm just gonna give it a shot. This heat gun, probably not ideal. Let's move on to something with a little bit more power. Now we're cooking. Ooh, smoking. I fucked up. I was too hot. Damn it. This one is also the rear cargo area, and it's just the one that goes underneath the other one. Now I'm going to be painting and flocking certain pieces and not others because I'm not entirely sure how each piece will handle this product, because certain trim pieces undergo more wear and tear than other ones, and I don't want to have to worry about having to redo this process later on. Also, I had to keep in mind how each of these pieces would look in the interior of the car. I didn't really want to mismatch certain pieces and have them look out of place, so I just had to keep that in mind. Now, some of these trim pieces will actually get a combination of both paint and flocking material because I wasn't sure if these little crevices might hold up too well with the flocking kit, because some of them will have to be screwed on and the flocking material might come off with the screws. All right, time to paint. And like I mentioned, some of them are getting both paint and flocking material. Like this is gonna get covered up in this part of the armrest, the little crevices here where I won't be able to flock anything just because stuff is gonna go in, and this might have to come out, as well as this piece down here. It might have to come out eventually, and the flocking material might come out with it. I'm just not sure, so I'm gonna go ahead and paint over it and just not even worry about flocking in these little crevices here. You know, I gotta admit, this piece came out really nice with just this is just with the blowtorch, and it comes out really nice. However, it goes attached to this piece here, and this is gray and this is black, and this bothers the crap out of me because it doesn't match, and I can actually do something about it, so I can't leave it like this, but it's a damn shame because it did turn out quite well. Oh well. That actually looks really nice. Now, in terms of the painting process, really, I wasn't entirely sure how this would come out in the future. Specifically, I wasn't sure if it would last or if it would peel on its own, or if I got any of these dirty and went ahead tried to clean them, would I cause it to peel? I wasn't really sure. So I'm gonna hold off on posting this video for a couple weeks until I put these through a little bit of a durability test and see if they actually do last. I'll try to clean them up as best as I can if I get them dirty. Either way, everything will be posted in the description below if anything changes and if it actually does last. So we're done with the paint, and now we're gonna move on to the flocking kit. And this is what it comes with. It comes with the applicator, which is like just like a big old salt shaker. So this is the bag of flock material that I got. This is the spray-on Suede-Tex fibers, and it is in black. I'll post exactly how much this is in the description, and we'll see if it's enough to actually flock all of this stuff. Now this is the paint brush it comes with, and it'll take me a long time to actually cover up all of these materials. I'm gonna go ahead and use this bigger brush to apply most of it. Now, I think this flocking material looks a lot cooler than the paint, especially now that I'm finished painting my material. Now, the flocking material here also raises some questions. I'm not sure how long it lasts, and just by the looks of the pictures, I mean, it looks really dope, but I don't know if these little fibers eventually fall out over time, or say if I need to clean them and I go ahead and try to clean that material, will I make it fall off? I don't know. The same questions with the paint. I don't know if this will last, or if I paint it, you know, will I scrub it off? I don't know. Oh, look at that, instructions. Oh shit, oh shit. Okay, so that's about half. Now we just cover it up. And now we paint. Doink. I'm pretty sure this is not the right type of brush, but I don't care. Got some in my mouth. Note to self, guys, the drips or whatever, the runs, whatever you want to call them, make sure they're gone before you spray this stuff. Doesn't look that bad. I thought the second time would be the charm, but it looks like shit. Hopefully we can fix that with the suede. Oh, this stuff gets everywhere. Flocking definitely looks a lot cooler to me. Looks like I might have missed some spots, so look at that. It looks patchy. This one looks pretty good. Damn it. It's a damn shame. Just gonna cover that up. No one's gonna notice. I really recommend you guys practice this on something else. Something smaller, but with a few different angles so you know what you're working with. Smooth away all the glue first before applying the fibers. If you can see shape in the glue other than the lines, like, you know, that's definitely not what you want. If you can see that before you glue it, you'll definitely see it afterwards. I actually did paint the center console. Y'all probably gonna hate me because this is very expensive and, you know, OEM is always better, but I couldn't help myself. Check it out. Blocked it. I blocked the sides and only painted the bezel here because, oh shit, is it dry? I fucking hope it is. I only painted this one because the double din is going to be on this part, and I really didn't want to have to go ahead and deal with the fuzzy trim so close to the touchscreen. So I think it's going to look nice. It's got a nice, it's going to be a nice touch with the suede material and the black plastic trim. I'm just going to let this dry overnight. It's about 10 to 15 hours before I can actually remove any excess Suede-Tex material. So until the 10 to 15 hours of dry time is up, I will leave these here and we'll touch back on this tomorrow morning. All right, guys, so it's been a couple weeks since I finished up with this entire project, and I've had all the parts installed in the Civic, and I'm gonna go ahead and talk about that here. So once I finished up with the flocking, I basically just let that stuff I think I let it wait 10 hours, something like that. It was basically just overnight, and then when I woke up in the morning, it was ready to dust off. The remaining particles of this thing were ready to go. 10 to 15 hours before you can remove excess fibers. And then once you do, it says, what does it say? Right down here. It will take 72 hours to 1 week for it to cure completely. Essentially, I wanted to wait a couple weeks before I posted any of this stuff because I wanted to make sure that it actually lasted and that they underwent a little bit of, wear and tear, as well as some cleaning procedures as well. Now the paint itself really is a decent paint. It basically just looks like this, right? Cap for reference. This is the flat black that you can expect. It has a little bit of a sheen to it, so just for reference, but I didn't even waste, well actually, that's probably about half the can. As for the flocking kit, I believe this was a 3 ounce bag, and I still got like half of them left. That's quite a bit, so I can actually still flock quite a few other things if I decide to in the future. Now, in terms of application, the paint is pretty straightforward, right? Obviously, you want to clean the surface. However, one that's not pretty straightforward and that I forgot to address is the smoothness of some of the pieces basically prevented the paint from sticking, and certain pieces like the cigarette lighter piece, I managed to fix because I got a thumbprint on it, and I also got this paint kind of like bubbled on the surface and it didn't really stick all that well, but I managed to fix that one. However, for the faceplate on the doubled in, that one I kind of overlooked and just left it like that. And you can see there are certain pieces where the paint didn't adhere all that well and it looks kind of like bubbles because you can see the stuff underneath it. And just keep in mind, you might want to scuff it up just a little bit with some like maybe high grit sandpaper so you get a nice rough finish so you can get the paint to stick properly. You don't want to go too high, obviously, because then you'll scuff up and damage your piece, but just keep that in mind. Sometimes, depending on the smoothness of the material, this won't stick all that well. Now for the flocking, this is my old armrest, and because of my laziness and the way I applied this coat, because of also the brush, all these things together, basically all assured that I'm gonna have to find another armrest eventually, because it's gonna bother me, because it looks like shit right now. Look at that. That looks disgusting. Don't look at it. We're gonna move on. Oh, fuck that up. I managed to get the glue all messed up and didn't really apply the coat properly the way I was supposed to, but I'm gonna show you guys here real quick what I'm supposed to do with this little piece here, and I'm gonna show you guys the right way to do it. You want this type of brush fibers right here, right? The type of brush that looks like shit and it just looks like horsehair or nasty stuff, whatever. This is the kind of stuff you want because it allows the glue to basically penetrate through all these fibers effectively, whereas the other one, there's too many bristles to get past, so it didn't really work all that well. This one has them a lot more spread out and a lot more coarse. So actually, when I did use the brush that the kit provided, I got a much better result, and I can show you guys here. Basically, the fine tooth brush was used for the armrest, and you can see it just looks like shit. And the brush that they provided, which looks like this, was actually used to coat the doubled in faceplate. And that one looks a lot cleaner, honestly. You get a much better result if you use this type of brush. And you can obviously get them in bigger sizes, which I did, because like I said, I don't know what other stuff I want to flock, but I can't really reuse the brush because I don't want to clean it, and I don't even know if you can. Oh, this, I remember we need gloves for this. Oh, I don't have any, I wasted my last bit, damn it. You want to apply an even coat of the glue. I mistook that for meaning I just needed to cover the surface, but it's a little bit more complicated than that because the previous brush coated all the surface. It just didn't do a good job of getting glue across the surface, if that makes sense. It's kind of like paste, where I treated it more like paint. So this stuff is technically self-leveling, as you guys can see here. It looks pretty smooth, but if you make the mistake that I did, like using the wrong brush, you'll get certain areas that kind of raise up more than others. And what that means is basically when the suede fibers are applied, you'll be able to see that mark. And basically what that looks like is, okay, that's smooth. Those streaks in there like that, you'll be able to see those after the fact. And they're starting to go away, look, because it is self-leveling, but it can only do so much. That's why you want to use the right brush, not like I did. Get rid of these bubbles, and we're good to, that's good enough. Boom. Oh no, I got glue on my fucking phone. This is where, hold on, I might need more fibers on that bitch. It's like a salt shaker. look how great that looks, honestly. That's with the glue done right, the fibers applied generously, and I'll show you guys here later on when it finally dries what it looks like. I don't really want to wait for this to dry because it takes quite a while, but I'll put in some B-roll footage here what it looks like once I take off all these fibers, and I'll show you guys the final look. And that's basically what I learned fucking up my armrest using the flocking kit. Avoid that, because my carelessness didn't apply that stupid glue properly the way I was supposed to with the right brush and the right method, and hopefully this helps you guys. And that's pretty much it in terms of applying this stuff and what I learned during that process. Now let's get over to the actual applications of this stuff in the long run. So as you guys can see here, the center console area looked really great once I finished dusting off the fibers 24 hours later. I put it all together, I kind of mocked it all up outside the car, and it looked really great, especially when the light hits it. You can't even see any of the imperfections, which there are quite a lot of in that area there. But essentially having it in here installed after a few weeks, I learned that, you know, it does actually hold on a lot better than I thought it would. I thought it was just gonna be like glitter and it would just be falling off. Because these fibers didn't give me a lot of confidence when I saw this stuff online, but now that I have it in front of me here and I get to actually touch it and feel it, it does hold on there very good. Now, my main concern with all this stuff was basically just cleaning it. I wasn't sure how it would take up with, you know, rags, cloths, brushes, water, anything, right? I didn't know any of that stuff, and I found out that, you know, using the wrong type of cloth actually makes things worse, because the fibers pick up the stuff on the cloth, and it just makes things worse because this stuff tends to get dusty really quickly, especially in the Civic here. When the windows are down, it gets very dusty. But I found the best way to do that is just brush it off. I read online that it's not a good idea to get this stuff wet. However, I knew from practical use, right? You sometimes can't avoid that. If you get stains on there, you kind of have to get in there and get it, like, brush it all off. And I try to do that. I try to replicate that. I basically try to stain it with some dust and some dirt to try to get it out with some interior cleaner, and it did work pretty well. I didn't even need a brush. I just used a cloth, and it didn't take off a lot of fibers. There was some fibers that did come off, but I got a lot more fibers removed when I used a brush to brush off any of the dust that was stuck on those fibers. But essentially, any combination of these two, I felt pretty comfortable doing. I don't know how long it would hold on after a couple years, because I think it's only been on here about a month and some change maybe. But after a couple years of this, I don't know how many fibers would come off, or if the fibers that I removed were the ones that were actually glued on there, or just some leftover ones from when I, you know, finished flocking it. Overall though, I am quite pleased with the results. It does look really nice if you just ignore that part, which the seats are covering, so it's not even a big issue, but it looks really cool. Obviously, one thing I would change is I would just apply that glue a little bit better, and that's pretty much it. Just applying the glue is honestly the toughest part. Now we can talk about the painting stuff, which is really, really small stuff that I would do differently. Obviously, I would scuff things up a little bit better that were smooth, because this faceplate here, right here, is kind of bubbly down there at the bottom because the paint didn't adhere all that well. And that cigarette lighter piece right there gave me the hardest trouble. I had to do that over and over again because I had to sand it down and smooth it out because I got a fingerprint on there or something. I don't know why I got a giant smudge on there, but I cleared it all out, sanded it, and painted it again, and no troubles there. I didn't want to do that with the faceplate, however, because I was lazy. That's the only thing. Now at the rear here, I also painted these trim pieces, and you know, what can I say? They aren't that great. They have some pretty big scratches there, and it's really nothing I can do about that. That's basically engraved into that plastic now. I tried using heat to get them out, like I showed you guys here, but they're pretty deep scratches, and there's not really much I can do. And at the same time, it kind of bothers me a little bit that now I can tell the difference between this part, the trunk area, and the side trim, because it's quite noticeable, the change in color. That's black, and this is kind of like a bluish color, which I still think looks kind of black, but I don't know. It also looks blue. And you know, like I said, that part gets the most use because obviously I'm putting stuff in and out of my trunk a lot, and sometimes I like to sit on it and stand up on it for whatever reason, right? Just wanted to test it to see if it actually works and actually holds onto the paint. And as far as I can tell, I see no issues with it. I can try to scuff it up. I don't know if I should try that. Should I try to scratch it? Let's see how easy it is to scratch. Okay. Now, like I said, there are a lot of scratches here, but we're gonna go ahead and just pick a corner here where right here. I'm just gonna try to scratch it. Let's keep going. Wow, it is on there pretty well. I am impressed. I have had a few experiences painting trim, and I've never had anything last very long. Essentially, it always chips eventually when I try to clean it after a few years. I think it's probably due to my laziness and the way I actually do prep it and paint it, but this is actually quite well. I'll show you guys here some footage of my Ford Ranger, which I did actually paint with, I think I bought some Dupli-Color trim paint from O'Reilly's or AutoZone, and it didn't hold off that well. Certain areas that get more use obviously chip faster, and this definitely gets a lot of use because as you can tell, all these scratches, I wasn't sure if it was gonna last, but look at it. Very tough to scratch. And even when I stood up there with all the dirt and I cleaned it pretty rough with the brush and the rag that I used to wipe off the interior detailer spray, it still didn't damage any of the paint. All in all, the paint and the flocking stuff really did a good job. Well, if you ignore the armrest. It looks great, honestly. Look at that. That looks disgusting. Don't look at it. A few things I would like to mention though. The paint in there, I don't know if it was the paint or the glue from the flocking kit, but just let this stuff rest and definitely air out your car. I learned that the hard way. It really made driving a little annoying because it just smelled like paint. I was basically huffing paint for a while. Just keep that in mind. Definitely air out these pieces. I would recommend you leaving them out in the sun or just in a well-ventilated area for a few hours, because once they were done drying, once the glue was done drying, the paint dried a lot faster, but once the glue was done drying, I just threw everything back in there and I smelled the paint for a few days after that. And I definitely regretted that. Go ahead and close this. And we're gonna close out this video. Oh, that's it, guys. Oh man, that car is dirty. We'll wash it up later. That's gonna be it for today's video, guys. Basically, just paint and flocking material to actually restore your trim pieces. For me, came out really cool. Until next time, guys, take care and good speed.